Hello students, in our today's lecture, we are going to study a topic heat exchanger pressure drop analysis. In our previous lectures, in a design of compact heat exchanger, we have used equations for the pressure drop in a compact heat exchanger while solving numerical based on compact heat exchanger. So today, we are going to learn how that pressure drop equation of compact heat exchangers are derived. Generally, the total derivation is not asked in any exam, but as a student we should know how that pressure drop equations is derived from the basics equations. So in today's lecture, first we learn some basic equations or basic concept of a fluid mechanics, which will be helpful to derive a final equation of pressure drop in any heat exchanger, in compact heat exchanger, in plate type and tube type heat exchanger. So let's start with the first slide. That what is the importance of pressure drop? Why we need to understand the equation of pressure drop. So in any heat exchanger, we know that the pressure drop is directly proportional to the power supply. So as the pressure drop is higher, the required power to pumping the fluid, the value of required power for pumping the fluid becomes much higher, and indirectly it increases the final total cost. So measurement or determination of pressure drop in heat exchanger is most important. There are basically two reasons to find out the pressure drop. First is, we know that fluid needs to pump through heat exchanger in most of applications. It is essential to determine fluid pumping power, as we have just discussed, that it is essential to determine fluid pumping power required as a part of the system design and in operating cost. As we have seen in our previous lecture in design methodology, the second last stage is cost estimation, that what is the overall cost including capital cost, installation cost and the other cost. So in that cost, fluid pumping power cost is most important. So the fluid pumping power, as we know, it is directly proportional to the pressure drop, which is associated with the fluid friction and other pressure drop contributions along with the fluid flow path. The second most important reason to determination of pressure drop is the heat transfer rate, which can be significantly influenced by the saturation temperature, which is dependent on the pressure. So this is the second reason why we need to determine the pressure drop. So before deriving the equation for the pressure drop, there are some assumptions. First is that the flow in a heat exchanger is a steady and isothermal, and fluid properties are independent of time. They are not changing with the time. Second, fluid density is dependent on the local temperature only, or it is treated as the constant in some cases for the simplicity. The third assumption is the pressure at any point in the fluid is independent in the direction. If a shear stress is present, the pressure is defined as the average of normal stresses at the point. Body forces are caused only by gravity. So other forces like magnetic, electrical or other field do not contribute to the body forces. So they are going to be negligible. If the flow is not irrotational, the Bernoulli equation is valid only along the streamline. Then there are no energy sinks are provided or sources along the streamline. Flow stream mechanical energy dissipation is idealized as 0. The friction factor is considered as a constant with passage flow. So these are the assumptions which we are going to use while deriving the equation for the pressure drop. Now, in our fluid mechanics subject, we have learned this topic, friction loss in pipe. So let's take a little bit previous equations from the fluid mechanics. We know in a heat exchanger there are a flow of a fluid through the pipes. So friction by the wall of the pipe plays an important role in the pressure drop. So when liquid is flowing through pipe, the velocity of liquid layer adjacent to the pipe wall is 0. So that layer reduce the velocity of subsequent layer, and that due to that friction, or we can say that the shear stress which is generated by the friction force generate velocity profile, where velocity of adjacent layer to the wall becomes 0. So the velocity of liquid goes on increasing from the wall, and thus the velocity gradient and hence shear stress are produced in the whole liquid due to the viscosity. This viscous action causes loss of energy, which is usually known as the frictional loss. Now, on the basis of the experiment, William Froude gave the following laws of fluid friction for the turbulent flow. The frictional resistance for the turbulent flow mainly depends, it is directly proportional to the velocity, generally v raised to n, where n is from 1.5 to 2.0. For the turbulent flow, mainly it is taken as 2. So, it is also proportional to the density of the fluid. It is proportional to the area, surface area in a contact. Also dependent on the nature of the surface and independent of the pressure. So, frictional resistance is directly proportional to the velocity, density, surface area and the nature of the surface. It means it's a surface roughness which plays most important role in providing friction to the fluid layer. It is independent of the pressure. So, these are the parameters which is responsible or which is in a relation with a frictional resistance. Suppose, now let's derive expression for the loss of head due to the friction. Suppose we have this kind of pipe of constant diameter. Pressure is going to be inlet from this side and exit from this side. So, this is cross section 1 and this is cross section 2. Now, this is a uniform horizontal pipe of steady flow. P1 is a pressure intensity at section 1. This is P1, which is pressure intensity at this section. V1 is the velocity of flow at section 1. Here the velocity is V1, and L is the length of the pipe between section 1 and 2. So, this is the length which is capital L, which is length of the pipe. D is the diameter of the pipe. HF is the loss of head due to the friction. F dash is the frictional resistance per unit weighted area per unit velocity. And P2 and V2 similarly pressure and velocity at the section 2. Now, as we know, applying Bernoulli's equation for this example, we will get this is the pressure head, this is velocity head and this is elevation head. So, P1 by rho g plus V1 square by 2g plus Z1, this is kinetic energy, this is potential energy, this is pressure head. So, similarly for section 2 plus HF, this is the loss of head due to the friction between section 1 and 2. So, as we can see that this is a horizontal pipe, so Z1 is equal to Z2, as well as V1 and V2, V1 is equal to V2 as the diameter between these two sections is constant. So, our equations becomes P1 by rho g is equal to P2 by rho g plus HF, or we can say that HF is equal to P1 by rho g minus P2 by rho g. As density remains constant, so we can write P1 minus P2 is equal to rho g HF. This is HF, which is a pressure head, loss of pressure head. So, frictional resistance, now we know that the frictional resistance depends on the velocity, wetted area. So, we can write frictional resistance F1 is equal to F dash, which is frictional resistance per unit wetted area per unit velocity. Wetted area, it means the pi d into L, this is length L, pi d, the circumference of pi d into L, velocity square, it means V square. So, F1, which is frictional resistance, is equal to F dash, pi d, it is perimeter. So, capital P, this is L length and this is V square. Now, the forces acting on the fluid between section 1 and 2. So, which are the forces? First is a pressure force at section 1. Pressure force means pressure into area, it means P1 into A. Similarly, for section 2, it would be P2 into area. So, that P2 into area pressure force at section 2. And the third one is the frictional force, which is generated due to the friction between the fluid layer and the wall of the pipe. Okay, which is denoted by F1. As fluid is moving in this direction, frictional force will be in the opposite direction. So, the direction of F1 is from right to left. Done. Now, resolving all these forces in a horizontal direction, we will get P1 into A, right hand side direction taken as a positive. So, P1 into A positive. P2 into A and F1 direction is opposite to the P1 into A, so that it will be, it is denoted by minus sign. So, minus P2A minus F1 is equal to 0. Now, from this two term, A will be common. So, P1 minus P2 into A is equal to F1. Now, we know the F1 from the previous slide, F1 is equal to F dash PLV square. So, putting value of F1, we will get P1 minus P2 into A is equal to F dash perimeter length into velocity square. So simplifying this equation, we will get P1 minus P2 is equal to F dash into P L V square divided by A. Now we know that P1 minus P2 is equal to rho G HF from previous slide. We can replace P1 minus P2 by rho G HF. So instead of P1 minus P2, rho G HF, remaining term as it is. Now simplifying this equation, putting rho into G upon this term, we will get F dash by rho G into P by A into L into V square. Now this is perimeter divided by area. So weighted perimeter is for a circular pipe, this is pi d, and cross sectional area is pi by 4 d square. So P by A becomes 4 by d. So putting 4 by d instead of P by A in this equation, we will get HF is equal to F dash divided by rho G 4 into d instead of P by A into L V square. Simplifying it, F dash by rho G into 4 L V square divided by d. Now putting F dash by rho is equal to F by 2. In some reference book it is generally only F for simplification, sometimes taken as F by 2, which is known as the coefficient of friction. This is F dash is a friction resistance, F is a friction coefficient, which is F dash by rho is equal to F by 2. So replacing F dash by rho by F by 2, we will get HF is equal to 4F divided by 2G LV square by D. Now simplifying more, we will get 4F LV square D into 2G. This is known as the Darcy's equation, which we have already studied in our fluid mechanics subject. Okay, but this is going to be useful for derivation of the pressure drop in a heat exchanger. So this is the Darcy's equation. Now let's understand expression for the coefficient of friction in terms of a shear stress. This friction force generates shear stress. So let's understand expression of coefficient of friction in terms of shear stress. We have equation P1A minus P2A minus F1 is equal to 0 by resolving force horizontally. Now this F1 is a force due to friction, so force due to shear stress tau 0 in terms of tau 0. Force is equal to stress into area. So this is shear stress into surface area, because shear stress is generated within the surface area. So let's denote shear stress by tau. So tau into surface area, it's a pi d L. So P1 minus P2, this is the area pi by 4 d square is equal to tau pi d into L. Simplifying this equation, pi will be cancelled, d will be 1, this d will be cancelled. So we will get P1 minus P2 d by 4 is equal to tau into L. Simplifying further, we will get P1 minus P2 is equal to 4 tau into L divided by d. Now P1 minus P2 4 tau L divided by d. We know that P1 minus P2 is equal to rho G HF from our previous slide. So replacing P1 minus P2 by rho G HF and simplifying in terms of HF, we will get HF is equal to P1 minus P2 divided by rho G. So putting value of P1 minus P2 as 4 tau into L by d in this equation, we will get HF is equal to 4 FL V square divided by d into 2g. HF is equal to 4 FL V square d into 2g from previous slide. Now P1 minus P2, so from this equation this P1 minus P2 is equal to 4 FL V square d into 2g. This rho g is going to be into cross multiplication of this. Now instead of P1 minus P2, we can put 4 tau into L by d. So replacing P1 minus P2 by this value 4 tau L by d, equate with this value. Now we will get from this equation, if we simplify this equation, we will get tau is equal to F V square into rho g by 2g. So that is equal to F V square by 2g into rho into g. So the final equation is tau is equal to F rho v square by 2. Or we can say that in terms of F, friction coefficient, F is equal to 2 tau by rho v square. Okay, so this is equation for the friction coefficient. Now let's discuss about Reynolds number and the hydraulic diameter, which is denoted by dH. We have already studied also these two terms in our fluid mechanics subject, that what is Reynolds number and hydraulic diameter. So we know that the transition from laminar to turbulent flow in the pipe or in depends on the geometry, surface roughness, flow velocity, surface temperature and type of fluid among the other things. So after experiment in 1880s by Reynolds, who discovered that the flow regimes depend mainly on the ratio of inertia force to the viscous force, we know, and this ratio is known as the Reynolds number, which is inertial force divided by viscous force, which is equal to rho Vd by mu, where mu is a dynamic viscosity. So we know that the large Reynolds number, the inertia force, which are proportional to the fluid density and the square of the fluid velocity, is large relative to viscous force, and thus the viscous force cannot prevent the random and rapid fluctuation, so the flow becomes turbulent. Where the small or moderate Reynolds number, what happens, the viscous force are large enough to suppress the fluctuation and keep the fluid in a line, so the fluid will be the laminar fluid. So the Reynolds number at which the flow becomes turbulent is called the critical Reynolds number, and the value of critical Reynolds number is different for the different geometry and the flow conditions. For internal flow in a circular pipe, the generally accepted value of the critical Reynolds number is a 2300. Now for flow through non-circular pipes, the Reynolds number is based on the hydraulic diameter. Okay. So what is the hydraulic diameter, which is denoted by dh? It is generally 4 AC divided by P, or sometimes it is defined as 4 into minimum flow area, which is A mean, and wetted perimeter we can denote by area by length. So generally it is 4 A mean divided by A into L, where AC is the cross sectional area of the pipe, P is the wetted perimeter. The hydraulic diameter is defined such that it reduced to the ordinary diameter for a circular pipe. Like suppose we have this pipe whose diameter is D. Suppose we want to find out the hydraulic diameter. So putting the value in this 4 AC by P, AC is a cross sectional area. So for circular pipe it is pi by 4 D square. Perimeter becomes pi D. So directly it is going to be the diameter D. Okay. For some different geometry, what would be the hydraulic diameter? Suppose we have this kind of geometry, this kind of configuration for the square duct, whose side is A cross A. So the cross sectional 4 into area would be A square divided by perimeter becomes 4A. So the hydraulic diameter for square duct becomes small a. It's a dimension of the side. For a rectangular duct, it would be 4. Area would be A into B. Wetted perimeter is 2A plus B. So 2AB divided by A plus B. For this kind of channel, it would be 4 into A into B upon 2A plus B. So this is the equation for hydraulic duct, which can be used for different geometry of duct other than circular pipe. Now let's discuss some important parameters which we are define some parameter, introduce some parameter which we are going to use in a pressure drop derivation. First one is mass flux, a flow of mass, or we can say that flow of mass per unit area. Okay, so it is mass flow per unit flow area, generally denoted by capital G, which is m dot divided by A mean. You can understand it by, this is m dot, which is
so here this is a mass flow rate which is kg per second, and area which is meter square. So the unit would be kg per second into meter square. So we can write is equal to density into velocity. So unit of density kg per meter cube and velocity meter per second. So it will become kg per meter square into second. So we can write m dot divided by A mean is equal to density into velocity, which is U max.
So these are the terms which we are going to use to derive the pressure drop equation for the compact heat exchanger, like plate fin heat exchanger or tube fin heat exchanger. In our next lecture, we are going to derive the pressure drop equation which we have already used in solving numerical of compact heat exchanger. So that's it for today. Thank you so much.